particularly formal. Like I wanted y'all to just actually enjoy yourselves, although Gamestorming can be used to solve some pretty hardy problems. But we're going to do 3, and then we're just going to socialize it. So that's kind of the arc of the experience, okay? And so this is what I'm trying to avoid, right? Like we're all awash in babble, including me babbling right now. And so what the intention of Gamestorming is to give us other modalities to think, because we're awash in language and auditory content often. And the brain is actually kind of allergic to unisensory data, okay? So this is a visual metaphor for Gamestorming. I don't know if you've ever read the book by Shel Silverstein. I don't remember which one it is, but it has the homework machine. There's a poem called The Homework Machine, and you can pour in some data and get some input in there, and then this wonderful machine solves your homework problem, but it's kind of mysterious how it does it. And it just goes through, it's like a Willy Wonka machine, and it just goes through the process, and then it spits out this gift, right? And that's like a kind of a metaphor for Gamestorming, which is that you set it up for success by putting in your input. It has all these expansive and contractive, creative and analytical steps and mechanics. And then at the end of the process, something wonderful comes out, some kind of insight, some kind of information, some kind of aha or new idea. And that's actually what y'all are going to do together. So that's pretty cool. And so there is a structure to the madness, just so y'all know. I do like wild, unpredictable processes, but Gamestorming is actually intentional and purposeful. And so it has, just like any great book, any great movie or play, there's an opening and then a middle and then an end, okay? And in the opening stages of a sequence of game activities, you have to set it up for success. So you got to get the right input and the right people and the right information in order to seed the next stage, which is exploration. So it's like you're giving your mind all of the things it needs to support the end game, whatever that goal is that you define. So exploration stage is about that: experimentation, prototyping, kind of messing around with stuff in a structured way in order to get to a defined intent, a defined goal. So the closing of a Gamestorming experience in a group has open exploration and closing, and the close, you actually make decisions and you take action. So it's not open-ended in the sense that you just go like, that was cool, and then you kind of walk away, which that's fine too. But most of the time, businesses and educators, they have a need and a problem they're trying to solve. So it has an intent. And here's the thing, there's a bedrock inside of Gamestorming. There's a couple of methodologies that are kind of the bedrock of it. And a lot of you saw this slide yesterday. So Gamestorming is a visual technology. It's a visual methodology. So just take in this definition. It's one of the philosophical and practical underpinnings of Gamestorming is that it's visual. And you all saw this, some of you saw this yesterday. The visual piece is really important for Gamestorming because the brain is obsessed with visual information. And so it actually needs it to be successful. It evolved, the brain evolved in a 3-dimensional sensory environment that was visual for the brain. So it doesn't like being in a situation where it's just sensory. It really feels starved of information. And so this is a representation of how much of the cerebral cortex is devoted to processing visual information compared to the other senses. And just PS, there's actually 9 senses, but these are the dominant 5. Okay, so one of the bedrocks of Gamestorming is visualization. And then also this wonderful principle called the extended mind principle. And like, FYI, you guys, I love books. I'm obsessed with books. And this is a freaking cool book that just came out. It doesn't belong to me. I didn't write this. I wish I did, but it's awesome. And it describes, and she's so awesome. She's a science writer. It describes this principle in terms of collaborative environments and thinking environments and problem-solving environments in a really robust way. But the deal is that part of Gamestorming is about supporting the brain. So here's the thing. The brain has limited processing power for information in a moment. And Ping Sim, we're going to get to the fun game part. So don't you worry. This is all adult like chatter, but we'll get there. So the brain has limitations to what it can do, right? So at most plus or minus 4 bits of information is what we can process at any given time, variables. So for example, I'm currently trying to buy a piece of property, and I can, it's complex to try to calculate all of the things that you need to think about when you're making that decision. So in order for me to actively engage with that process, I actually have to externalize that the many variables and put them into an environment, a visual environment or a 3-dimensional environment. Like you can do it with Legos. I mean, you can put information in artifacts outside of your mind to actually extend your mind's capacity. And that's a huge part of Gamestorming, because you're no longer responsible for holding tightly to a very limited amount of information and overwhelming yourself. You actually use the environment on purpose to support your thinking, and it makes it fun and cool. So 2 important things: visual thinking and the extended mind. Okay. And it often looks like this. This is like ancient history when we all used to get together and do things. It's so sad. But there is digital and analog ways to approach Gamestorming, and that's totally cool. So I use a software called Mural that is in the top left corner. That is a visual collaboration software, and there's a lot of ways you can still do stuff. So all is not lost, although I do miss people, face-to-face people. Raise your hand if you miss face-to-face experiences. I know. Oh yeah, like all the things, raising the hands, right? Like, oh my God, what's going on? We're gonna be okay, I promise. So, but here's the and what my last sort of big brain moment. There are things called thinking moves. This is from the Harvard Project Zero Education Project, and what you want the brain to do is these are metacognitive moves. So you want to support when you're solving problems. There's multiple things your brain can do, and Gamestorming creates these visual structures and these thought experiments that help the brain do what it really is built to do. And they're all really useful thinking moves. Okay. So I'm going to open up the chat for a second and see if y'all are drowning in information right now. Are you so is your mind blown? What's going on? Okay, so cool. All is well. Yeah, design thinking is a big W.Y. Ching about design thinking. Yeah, design thinking is a methodology for maybe you use it, but it is a very robust investigative methodology as well. I know where the sidewalk ends. Yeah, Ron. Yeah, the Shel Silverstein book is it probably is where the sidewalk ends. That's a good guess. So anyway, this is just a cool thing for you to understand about how many things that are empowered by the act of Gamestorming. Okay. So I just want us to do it now. And do you I'm not throwing you in the deep end in the sense that this is truly anyone can step in at any time. We design facilitated experiences in every environment you can imagine. And most of those people are not trained in advance. So you don't need to know really anything. There are some hands raised. So do y'all need to go to the bathroom, or what is the need here? Let's see. Going great. Oh, the author of Extended, yeah, thank you. Thanks for answering that question about the author of the Extended Mind. Perfect. All right, so are y'all ready to Gamestorm? I'm going to escape this so I can see more of your faces, okay? Just put it in this mode. I like to see your faces. Okay, cool. All right, are you ready? So this Gamestorm, like all such Gamestorming sessions, has a goal, okay? Has an intention. And don't get stressed about that if you're not goal oriented. You cannot fail at Gamestorming, because something useful always comes out of the thinking process. Engaging with the world in an experiential way, something always useful happens. So here's the fun goal though. You're going to innovate features of many apps, and you're going to do it really fast. So software, so like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, you're actually going to innovate and improve upon those in a really rapid way. and you're going to surprise yourself by how smart you are and you didn't even know. Okay. I mean, maybe some of you know how smart you are, but you're going to be like, wow, I'm smarter than I thought. So we're going to do it in a sequence. Okay. And then before we start, what tool did I use? I'm just going to look at some questions in the chat. Okay. What tool did I use? It's called Mural. I think that's what you mean. What software did I use for the interactive? It's called Mural. We can see your notes. That's okay. That's no problem. Elizabeth, thank you for cautioning me that behind the kimono, you can see my my notes. I have very few things to hide, maybe like one. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure I'll share it with you later because I don't have a filter. So yes, I can spell the app. It is the software. So the visual collaboration software I use when I'm doing Gamestorming online is called Mural. It's really cool. You can do a lot of stuff. And I also do a lot of experiential work, even online, improvisational stuff. I ask people to go outside, take pictures, upload them. So I do not make these kinds of interactive experiences solely inside of software because people just need more than that, frankly. All right, so the first thing I want to do, first game I want to play. Yeah, Miro is also, Munying, yes, Miro is also a platform that's really great for visual collaboration. So first game I want to play, this is called Push Past the Obvious. Okay, so I'm gonna to your point, Elizabeth, I'm gonna hide my notes. So I want you on your piece of paper, if you have a piece of paper in front of you, to draw 30 upside down T's. Okay, just take your time and draw 30, 6 across, 5 down. And then once you've done that, then your job is to make those upside down T's into something, as many as you can in 5 minutes. And when I say make it into something, I mean anything. It does not have to be an actual, like a sailboat, but that's cool, but literally anything. And you're gonna get to a point, well, I'm not gonna tell you what's probably gonna happen. Just make as many as you can. So it's 10:22, so you have until 10:27. And I want you to turn those upside down T's into something, as many as you can in 5 minutes, okay? And then Junhao, I'm gonna stop sharing so we can play music.
Sure, okay.
No pressure. Hey, 27. 8 seconds. Don't panic. Elizabeth, I know, right? Like, it's not even nighttime. Is it nighttime where you are, Elizabeth? Yeah, see, so I'm exhausted too. Exactly. Okay, so y'all, let me know how that experience was. Like, you can always unmic yourself or unmute yourself. Seriously, I encourage you to do that. But I know that people are so reluctant to break the seal, even though I'm like, love you and I wish you would. But chat it up and tell me, what was that like for your brain and your body to do that? Circles are more organic for this. Interesting, Lorraine. That's the most creative thing I've heard in a while. I'm like, how would that even work? The host. Oh, so Junhao, they can't unmute themselves right now. Is that what you want?
It's up to you. Do you want them to be able to unmute themselves?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, chaos could reign, but
Okay.
that's often fun.
Sure. I mean, I could allow that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to trust you all as adults to be mindful. Yeah. Okay, so how was
okay,
it?
it's allowed.
Say what? Yeah.
Now everybody can unmute themselves. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So some people got stuck, yes, and then started critiquing themselves. Yeah, that happens a lot. How often did people start getting frustrated with their quote inability? That happens. That's absolutely human. And that's why this game is challenging, because you have to push past it. Oh, how unimaginative I am. No, may I argue back with that? I understand what you mean, but I also think that we're just not in environments that support this kind of thinking. So it's like a muscle that has to be reawakened. So we're natively creative. None of us would be here if we were not natively creative. So I beg to differ that you are unimaginative, but I understand the feeling that when you run into the wall, 14. Sylvia drew 14. That's fantastic. Yeah, there's no magic number, because sometimes people get really elaborate. Yeah. So Justin stopped resisting and just had fun. That's my man. To train my thinking muscles. Yeah, the music helped, right? That does help often. And often, weirdly, moving around quite helps. And also drawing large can help. Lori ended up with a lot of sports. The Olympics permeated your perception. Oh, and Patricia asked her son. Yeah, so the younger people can often, because they don't have necessarily the self criticizing function right away. So they just kind of go. That drops over time, as we all know, when we become adults. So yeah, that's awesome. And then there was Lee Weiwei's talking about how it linked some of her thoughts from one to the other. So it created like a thought bridge for her. So much comes out of a really simple activity, right? And I call this thing a primer. And I know I'm like talking. So was anyone going to unmute and like be heard? Was anyone going to do
Sunny?
that? Yeah.
Sunny, I'll talk. I was surprised at how drawing it upside down, the T's kind of turned me around into looking at them differently. So that helped creativity.
Isn't that funny? Just getting a different perspective can change what's possible. Thank you, Ron, for breaking the seal, breaking the wall, the digital wall. Yes, awesome. Anyone else want to do that? Yeah, Elizabeth.
I kept going back to what I did today, which was garden, and then I looked at tile. So I was going into like my only frame of reference, which was today's activities.
So you were making actual like literal things like gardening and tile?
Or
Or were they?
Well, I started with sailboat because you mentioned it. I mean, unfortunately, I just took off, and I felt like, oh, I don't have any imagination. Then I went flying a kite. I started getting squiggly, and I added a butterfly in there. But I mean, beyond that, it just really was difficult for me to go beyond, because I started making sparklers, and then I connected telephone poles all across the page.
Nice. Yeah, like there you have it. That's all that's required. And the intention of this game, thank you also for speaking. The intention of this game is to I call it a primer. So there's nothing more mysterious to it other than me just asking you to jog your visual cortex and your imaginative cortex, and to start to do what I call be productively uncomfortable, right? Because it is a challenge, but you're not going to get hurt. And nothing truly bad's going to happen, other than, the inner critic, which that's always not super sassy, but you got to keep going. And that's why I call it push past the obvious. So it's just a primer. So let's see. I found myself drawing things around me. Yeah, why not use the things around you to do that? So thank y'all so much for participating in it. So now it's going to get a little more challenging, but fun, because first of all, you don't have to share your stuff if you don't want to, so you're totally safe. Although I do have your names on your screen, so I may straight up call on you, and I can't promise I won't do that, but that's only because I'll be reading your body language and I'll be like, she secretly wants to talk. So cool. So the next game, Elizabeth, go get a new pen. If you need a new pen, go get it. Y'all are always free to wander around. So the next game is called the anti-problem. Have any of you ever heard of this activity? It's so silly and really helpful. And this one, I'm actually just going to ask you to do like either a list. This is a purely linguistic activity, okay? And that's because I kind of woke up your visual cortex and your imagination, and I think it's going to seed this next activity. So this is called the anti-problem, or alternately, let's make matters worse. This is one of my favorite games. So what you're going to do, and this all funnels into the ultimate goal, which is to innovate around something. But so what you're going to do is you're going to think of an app that you use regularly. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Microsoft Word, whatever you want. Shopping like Amazon, any kind of software interface that you use regularly. And so what I want you to do is brainstorm about 5 to 7 ways you could actually break that app or make it just an atrocious user experience. Some of them already have bad things going on, but I want you to just imagine how to make it worse. Okay? Does that make sense? Let me know if you have questions in the chat or using your voice. And I'm going to give you like 4 minutes for that. And you can come up with as many as you want if you can keep going. If you're a product developer and you already know how to do it to it.
Sorry, Sunny, could you repeat the task again, please?
Sure, absolutely.
Catch it.
So the intention is, thank you for asking. The intention is to think of an app that you use regularly and brainstorm a list of 5 to 7 things that would make that experience worse. So for example, I log on to Amazon and suddenly there's a banner up there that says, "You look unattractive today." That would definitely make that a worse experience, right? So it can be it can be absurd. It can be totally absurd. But anything that you could imagine that would make that experience more terrible. Awesome. Okay, and time. So share with me in the chat how some of the things that made an app worse. I just want to hear how creative and silly and maybe really technical you got. Every button requires reCAPTCHA to prove you're not a machine. Awesome. An app that forces you to download another app. On Twitter, you can only curse. I would actually like that, Lorraine. Facebook, you can only dislike things. Brilliant. Log in with 2FA every time you open a new page. A Zoom filter that shows you naked against your will. Naked and with your COVID-20. Ugly 5 filters. Brilliant. Too many advertisements, right? Yes, a message saying go away. Every time you open the app, we don't want you here. Are you sure? It says every time you try to make a decision, are you sure? It's like when Google says, did you mean? I'm like, yes, I friggin' meant that. What do you, I know what I typed, Google, thanks. God, rank your image against your friends, right? See, this is wonderful. These are so creative. This is awesome. So why would this be useful to do? Why would I ask you to solve the opposite of because normally people want to make apps better. So why is it useful to consider how to make an app worse? Yeah, swap faces. Charles says, show your ex-wife's photo when you hit the wrong password. Or just any ex, you're like, oh God. So yeah, yes, Antonio, exactly. So one of the reasons this is useful is so you know what not to do, right? Like that, you nailed it, Antonio. That's a big part of why this thinking process is useful, because what often developers discover is that they are actually doing quite a few of the things that make an app worse under the impression that it's making it better. So it's actually really helpful to imagine and discover what you're doing that's alienating to customers and users. Yes, beautiful. Awesome. Was that fun to think about ways to make it ridiculous? That's so good. Okay, cool. So thank you for playing. So then we have 2 more games, and this is where it gets a little more analytical, and then ultimately a little more innovative, both of which require, pretty serious brain power. So, but the end of this game storm is ultimately to innovate and improve upon one of your favorite apps. So we could we could crowdsource for TikTok just right out of the gate, So the next game is called Atomize. Let me share my screen again so I can show you a visual structure, because you're going to need to draw this, eventually end up in this kind of drawing. Let's see. All right. So that was called the anti-problem, just in case you ever want to play it again. You can always play that with your friends over dinner. And this game is called Atomize. So it's called Atomize because you're actually breaking something down into very, very tiny parts, as small as you can get, so that you understand the system itself or the process itself much more intricately. And so this is the visual. You're ultimately going to create something similar to this. Now, there are a lot of you probably are familiar with mind maps. This is actually called a tree and branching structure, so it's slightly different from a mind map. But if you want to go mind mappy, by more power to you. So what I want you to do in this particular activity is put the app that you chose, whatever app it was, where it says system, like give it just that banner and put that app inside of that, and then start to break down underneath it features and attributes and mechanics of the app, if you will. So like and you can do that however you want. It's not there's not a really like a mandatory way that you break it down. I just want you to start seeing the actual functionality of the system. So I'll give you an example, and you guys can give each other examples. So if you have Instagram, for example, one of the breakdowns, the atoms, the kind of molecules of it, could be the ability to direct message someone, right? Or another one could be the multiple photo option, right? So you're really starting to think of the features and things that that app enables. And it can be anything. It can be a visual feature, it can be a mechanical feature, a technical feature, a social feature, etc. So you'll start to see the app you use in a new way. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know if you have questions. And then for this one, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, and I'll just kind of watch the vibe and see if we need to close before that. But I want you to atomize it as much as you can. So push past the obvious. Okay, push past the obvious like we did in that first game. And then I'm going to stop sharing, Junhao, and we can jam out again. Thank you. Okay, maybe 60 more seconds. Okay, are y'all ready? Yeah, Peng Sim has a puppy. We have a kitten and a puppy in the audience. Love it when the animals show up. All right. So, okay, so that one was probably not complex, right? You mostly just have to sort of catalog what you have observed, right? So this game is going to be the place where your brain might break a little bit, you know, it might be, you got to like jog it into activation, but it's really, really fun. And since we did some priming with the upside down T and the anti-problem, you can move more into the creative thinking mode, because this next game is called the heuristic ideation technique. I call it HIT for short. Does anyone know what a heuristic is? Yes, my brain hurts a little, right? Growth is painful. It just is. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the definition of a heuristic because it's crazy long, but it's a really, really useful definition. And there it is in the chat. Take a gander. So isn't that fun? It's so fun. It's a problem-solving method that is not optimal or rational, but it actually somehow gets you to a place of utility and value. So you can imagine that they're actually rather fun. Heuristics are really quite fun, and they have a lot of discovery in them, and the brain loves them because the brain has a mixed relationship with uncertainty. It's attracted to it because it knows that there's growth there. But if it's overwhelmed by uncertainty, then it can like back it up. So a heuristic is this little sweet spot where the brain's challenged sufficiently, but not overwhelmed. Okay, so that's what this activity is. And it actually is a lot of fun when you get into it. And the cool thing about working in groups together is, of course, that you have all that energy and mojo from each other. So in this case, when you actually come up with ideas, feel free to put them in the chat so that other people can get inspired by what you've come up with, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen again because there is another visual structure you need to draw. Ron, I saw you yawning. I'm gonna get you, you know, how dare you? I think you're yawning because of the brain stress. It's not because you're bored. All right, y'all ready? So this is, let me share my screen again. This is the structure I want you to draw, okay? And we're gonna funnel the information that you created into this table, this grid, okay? So you can see this grid, yeah? You don't have to make it a 5 by 5. You can make a 4 by 4 grid, a 3 by 3, whatever you want. It's not important about that part. But what you're going to do is a mashup, okay? So on one side of your grid, ignore this little thing that says list of common apps. What I want you to do is put those features down. So I thought there's two approaches to this game, but let's just go with one where you actually list those features that you just created in your atomization game. Just put as many of that you think are interesting. Just pick 5 and put them on the grid, 4 or 5. put them on the grid. And then across the top of your grid, I want you to put articles of clothing. Okay. Articles of clothing. And that can be like a princess crown. It could be like a boa. It could be slippers, a bathrobe. I have 6 bathrobes, so I would probably put bathrobe, bathrobe, bathrobe. But make them different, okay? So that's your first step. So don't do anything other than that. Just focus on that task at hand, creating the grid, listing the features, and then coming up with articles of clothing. That's your only thing to do right now. And then I'll explain the next step. Also, raise your hand if you love bathrobes as well. You may raise your hand. Elizabeth, what are you confused about? Will you turn your mic on and ask me?
So you said list of common apps is what you wrote there. I understand write articles of clothing, like I wrote a swimsuit, a
Yeah.
bandana, but I don't understand what the other axis is.
Yeah, good. Because there's probably other people that are confused. So this game can be played multiple ways. And so when I created this visual, I was thinking I would have people list TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, like the apps. But now I want you to do the features. So the content you created from the atomized game, whatever you just created, just pick some of those and put them down. Does that make sense?
When I got to the bottom of my, digging deep into what it was about.
Great, put
Came to
those.
some realizations. Okay, bye.
Yeah, thanks for asking, because I'm sure I confused the hell of a lot of people. It's part of the imperfection of this process. There is no relations. Yes, Christine, if there's no relationship, sure, put it in. There's no harm in putting things outside of what you were thinking into this axis that also will be fruitful. Yes, you can put any article of clothing. Absolutely anything. You can put underpants. I mean, there's nothing taboo here. You can put whatever you want. And W.Y. Ching, don't worry about that yet. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so y'all feel pretty kind of ready, yeah? So what you're gonna do is a mashup, okay? So you see how, and so I know not everyone's an auditory learner, so try and listen to this, and then I'll actually do a little example. I'll speak an example, but the visual should help too. So what you're gonna do is smash these two things up with the intention of improving upon an app, okay? The intention is to innovate or improve upon an app. So let's just say, let me call on the guy with the cool French hat. I want to call on you because I feel like in the red shirt, I feel like you're totally with me here. Can I call on you? You're hiding. What's your name? I'm going to ask you to unmute, Mr. Hat Man. He's pretending. He's listening to music. Man, Okay, fine. So I'm going to call on you, Munying. I'm going to call on you.
Okay.
So tell me one of the things along your axis, your y-axis. Vertical.
Why? Right down, right?
Yeah, vertical.
Wait, I had like an uglify filter, and then this was like shirt. So
Oh,
is
cool.
that the shirt column?
Yeah, that actually works. Okay,
Okay.
so he said he had already done actually a little innovation with the uglify filter. So that was from the anti-problem,
Yeah.
and that's cool too. So if you were to mash up, Munying, if you were to mash up an uglify filter with a shirt, how many different ways could you transform that feature? Just name one.
Could be recommendations for what you have, or I guess improving, or actually showing like what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be recommendations for ugly shirts.
Yeah, both ways. Good and
That's
bad.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you get the idea, right? So thank you so much. So somebody else name another feature, just so that people really understand what the smash up is. And it does not have to be something that is technically possible. It can be absolutely Willy Wonka, blue sky, crazy thinking, Disney-fied imaginative thinking. Okay. So I'll name another feature. So like the reactions feature in Zoom, you can push reactions. So article of clothing. Okay. I'm going to say earrings. Okay. So maybe they should just do some reactions that have really cool earrings, or maybe they should do a reaction that, I'm going to go real crazy here. So maybe they should do a reaction that actually anyone in the picture wearing earrings, it actually jiggles their earrings. Like you can make up anything, right? So I'm saying get really creative. Try not to stop yourself from coming up with innovations, because this is how innovation happens, is people have to think way crazy. They have to think way outside of what you normally think, pushing past the obvious. So your job in this is to mash up across that grid. Okay. And don't be shy if you have questions. This is a challenging game. It's challenging in the visual structure, and it's challenging in the thinking, and it's challenging in terms of what we allow ourselves to create. Okay. And this one, so I'm going to give you like, it's 11:04. I'm going to give you like 10 to 12 solid minutes, because I want you to generate as many ideas as possible. So I really want you to dig into this activity and generate as many ideas as possible, and do not judge the ideas. They just need to be whatever. So if it's like an article of clothing is a slipper, and a feature is the like feature, so it can say, oh, I like to wear slippers, and therefore I am going to send you to a website that sells nothing but slippers and automatically ship them to you if you have 20 friends that say thumbs up. I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? Anything. Just absurd things is cool too. Perfect, Tan. Yes, there you go. And write and draw them in the grid. Okay, 10 minutes. And no holds barred. And then Junhao music would be fantastic. I don't know if, okay, thank you. Y'all ready? Like get excited and freaked out, okay? Just surprise yourself. Yes, stop being excited.
Sunny, you need to stop sharing. Oh yeah, okay, thank you.
Sure. 2 minutes and all your suffering will be alleviated. One more minute. All right. Okay. Coming back. Thank you. Oh my God, I got the giggles hard. I mean, all you have to do is throw in underpants and then everything goes haywire, you know? Oh, so, okay. So I was watching those of you who are on and I could like actually feel the stretching, you know, like that is a weird game. It's a super weird game. Tell me about your experience. I know some of you, it's like Gianfa got creativity pouring out of her fingertips. She probably can't even stop herself. But for the normal people like myself and like others, then we have to it just cracks everything that we normally would do. And that's actually a consequence of the society that we live in that overemphasizes linguistic and auditory information. So, because we kind of lost this muscle. And so it's really important to do these things actually, because this is how the future is built. This is how visionaries create things. This is how things are innovated. And so, and you have to be willing to go far and go weird, get weird. I mean, this doesn't come to me naturally. I have to practice all the time. So, but there clearly are some patentable ideas in there. So thank you for the free information. So does anybody want to break the digital wall and share your experience with me? Because we have 9 minutes and I can share a case study, but I also just want to hear from y'all. I just want to hear if you're okay. Are you okay? Tell me what you think. Lahari's okay. Cool.
Hi, Sunny.
Hi.
Hi. My experience is it may not come very easily. If I go grid by grid, I just have to go down the list and find something that just pops, and I start working on that and go back again, whichever that is not filled.
Excellent.
So that was the experience.
Beautiful. So she found an approach that worked for her. How many of you just did it that way? Whereas like let something spontaneous occur rather than doing it systematically. That's great. That's a really, really useful little leap of faith into the unknown. Oh, James Ho also, you guys, we should all start following him because yeah, he's going to start patenting stuff and he's going to be a billionaire. So we should make friends with him now is what I'm guessing. You know what I mean? Well, who else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm just happy to share because I'm not used to doing this, but I realized that when you think about apps and you think about clothing, right, it's all about expressing yourself. Mm-hmm. And pretty much, after I put it in the grid, I realized that so many aspects of social media and clothing do kind of overlap, and the connection was not very clear at the start, right? You have content, what you wear, your graphics, your style. You have expression when you connect with people, like color, how you feel that day, you know. And I think when you pair all these things together, you actually can think about how there's virtual and physical appearance both. You have your virtual identity, you have your physical identity, and it all just came into a framework. So that was pretty interesting exercise actually for myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and like what I would say you were doing was actually deeper atomization. So you start unpacking those layers in a whole different way. And when you get there, and that's why we only have 120 minutes together or something of that nature, not 120 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. And so we can only go so far, right? But when you are actually doing this collaboratively together, which you can do online, then you can start to inspire each other and start to parse this in a very, very intricate way. So like really to the atomic level or the molecular level. And then if you have a grid that's massive, you can produce an incredible amount of ideas in a very short period of time, many of which are ridiculous and unusable, but you have to go through that unusability process in order to get the gold. There's no like, I get the gold right out of the gate. You have to just be clumsy and silly and unsure and also collaborative, and then magical things happen. And this is a really rapid way to do that. And in surprising ways. And we now have like 7 different new types of underpants in the marketplace pretty soon. So that's awesome. Like there's one, and James t-shirt, your t-shirt idea that has like OLED that then you, what does it do? You you crowdsource the like visual on your t-shirt and it changes that's amazing. Like that is going to happen. That is going to happen. And you saw it here first, people. You saw it here first. So I have a couple of options. Like I can share a case study with you guys, or I can just let you say things and ask me questions. What do you prefer? Like put your hand up if you want to hear a case study. Okay, and then the rest you want to like ask what? Oh, there's lots of hands. Okay, cool. So I'll take this into the real world real quick. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and take this into the real world because I didn't make this like really rigorous, but in a real game storm, it's crazy what you can do when it's designed well. So I'm going to share my screen one more time and show you an actual case study. Okay, and then I got to give the mic back to Sylvia because she's the closer. All right, can y'all see? This is just FYI, this is a real world example of the HIT technique. So quick case study, okay? This is at a telecommunications company. We remember how I talked about open, explore, close. So we seeded the initial conversation with some information about the future of television. And that's what this image is. This is just a graphic recording, which is rapid visualization of auditory content about the future of television, okay? From that conversation, we moved everybody into a breakdown, and this is a game storm right here, a little micro game storm of the features and attributes and anything that came up for them in listening to that content about the future of television. There was about 25 people here. And then they took those things that were interesting and they put them in this matrix, and the ideas are on the side. And then they start to unpack that and like do what's called brain writing. So they started adding on to each other's ideas based on like a kernel of an idea and started building it out. And then they did a timeline about probability of technological advancement, meaning like, could those things even be possible in a certain period of time? Because this was an attempt to come up with 5 patentable technologies in a 2-day period, which is not hard, not easy to do. And then ultimately we all voted on them, and then they prototyped them. And then the patent attorney took those to the patent office, and they were successful in getting the patent process started on technologies that didn't exist. And these were not like, these are not Imagineers. These are just normal people put in the appropriate environment to support the brain, right? Because the brain is starving for multi-sensory experiential activities to help it think. And so that's actually the segue to what I want to say, which is this is a great quote from another book that I adore. And it's a provocation on purpose that I would encourage you to not only create environments that are unisensory. It's anathema to what the brain wants and needs and what the body wants and needs. And it doesn't actually support us in blooming as best as we can. So there's real opportunities to integrate visual thinking and gamification and improvisation. And it's not just to be fun and creative, which is awesome. It's also to actually solve real problems, seriously, real big problems. So thank y'all for participating. If I can advocate for another book, this book is awesome. Also, I did not write this book. One of these days I will be that person again. But I did write this book. Do y'all know about this one? So I wrote this one. Highly recommended. What do you call that when you sell yourself inappropriately? Yeah. So thank y'all. I have 60 seconds. So let me know how you're feeling. Give me one of these if you want to give me a hug. Give me a hug.
Hi, Sunny. Hey, John Hao here. Hi, I just wanted to let you know, right? Because there's no sessions after this. So if you want to go on for a little while more, I will be more than happy for you to do so.
Oh, does Sylvia need to close or no?
It's okay. I mean, you can have another 15 minutes if you're okay with that.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah. Because then we
Okay.
can have 6 minutes to ask some questions. Because I really did download a lot. So
Okay. All right. Yeah, please go on then. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Yunhao. Oh, and Nivedita, I know you asked me about applications in the classroom earlier. So yeah, so anything you can do in a business environment, you can do in a classroom environment. So there's no translation problem. There's nothing lost in translation. And so this book has it has 83 different techniques. I actually did create that one. So all of them can be applied in a classroom, and they're age appropriate for any population of people. So that's why I love that the young girl was here. I'm like, wahaha, love you so much. But she was participating the whole time. I don't know if she was drawing clowns or, I mean, she might have. But you can adapt these to any environment to solve any problem for any age. There's no limitations. Oh, and Chris, thank you for asking. Is the Doodle Revolution available on Overdrive? They couldn't find it yesterday either. So I highly encourage you guys to make it available because it's amazing. Can you share the name again? The name of they have the physical book. Thank you for having the physical book. Oh, I'm just getting a lot of love. I'll just soak in the love. We all need that. And I thank you for trusting me and for coming along on the journey, because I did ask you to do a lot of weird stuff and it's hard. Do y'all all need like a sandwich now? Because you're all calorically deprived because it's exhausting. Good luck with house hunting. Thank you. You know, there's games for like visualizing your ideal future home or your ideal future job. You know, and I said this yesterday actually, but when you do visualizations for your future, you change the probability of that outcome. There's a lot of research that demonstrates that. So it's very, very useful to draw your vision or draw your future or draw the job you want or the partner you want or the partner you don't want, you know, because it actually has an impact in the implicate field, if you will. And that was my Zen moment. Thank you, guys. Y'all are so awesome. I love you. I always do. Thank you. Thank you. Recap the beginning. Oh, yeah. So, I'll share my slides too, FYI, if y'all want them. And then also, I know the facilitators get a lot of credit when they let people go early. So I'm going to let you go early and then you'll like me even more. So I'm going to give you 3 free minutes. And yes, James, I will share the slides. And also I will be in touch with you because you are going to be the billionaire. Yeah. James already invented like 5 viable technologies. So that's amazing. Awesome. Well, y'all have a good day. And Sylvia, do you need to say stuff, right?
Hi, yes. No,
Thank
I just want to say that, earlier on you were saying that what does it mean when someone sells their own books? It's what I call confidence. Yeah, let's give it up for Sunny. Can you sing for us
It's
one more
not
time?
arrogant. Cool.
Can you sing for us one more time in the song that I love your
No, I
faces?
always do. Well,
Do you want to hear it? Everyone want to hear it.
Sugar in my bowl. How about that? That
All
was neat.
right. You're awesome, Sunny. Come on, everybody. Let's just put our hands together this way and give Sunny a big round of applause. Everyone, come on. Good
Give
job.
yourselves a round of applause.
Well
Give yourselves one too.
Thank you, Sunny. And of course, thank you to each and every one of you. I believe that each and every one of you have actually enjoyed this session. Of course, I find it so engaging. All right. I have used up 3 to 4 papers over here. Lucky I'm using recycled paper. Recycled paper.
Beautiful. All sides can be used, yes.
Yeah. All right. And of course, before we come to the end of the webinar, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank our speaker once again, Sunny. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much for taking time off to be here with us. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you, Sunny.
Oh, thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening. Justin, good
Stay
to see you.
safe. Stay safe and healthy. Yeah.